Well, I'm in the kitchen and little bruh and I decided we needed to cool off with some sugar-free snow cones because it is getting toasty out there, and I just finished resetting that tomato bed so it'll be ready for the babies. If you haven't seen that video, I'll link it. And we wanted to show you what our sugar-free cooler offer drinks are going to look like. I have horrible lighting in here, but this is hers, and it's got watermelon and orange and some lovely cubed mango. And this is mine. I'm going with just regular watermelon, but I'm gonna throw some of these lovely raspberries in that I found on sale. I like sales. We use this stuff. We get it on Amazon. We really like it. I can try to link it. And we've had this machine 2, maybe 3 years, and we've loved it. You just keep these little cups refilled in your freezer, and it just slides in here, and it shaves your ice. I'll see if I can find a link to that as well. So I'm about to get started on a canning project as well. Today's Wednesday. It's my day off from my work outside the home, so I like to get a lot of things done. Tomorrow's Thursday. I do a lot of work from home for that job, but I want to get some things going. So see you in a bit. So I got things cleaned up from our little snow cone thing. Usually have a wax warmer thing there, and I don't know about you, but my kids love to stick their fingers in that stuff and get it everywhere. But anyway, this is a Presto canner. I have no idea what size it is. I always put some jars in it, and then I fill it up just below halfway, between halfway and a quarter. And that way I know my water level for the size of the jars that I'm using. Read your instructions. I have pressure canned plenty of times before. Yes, it is scary, but once you read into it and look into it and try, you'll realize there's lots of safety precautions. This is not going to be a how-to video because I have not canned chicken broth or chicken bone broth before. I'll show you. I made a large pot of it, and I don't know how many quarts it will fill, so we'll just do it and see how it goes. Okay, so we've had our cool treat, and I'm gonna go ahead and get this project started. Sorry, the lighting is horrible in here, and my microwave light bulb is broken, so need to do that. I'm gonna get this stuff out of the fridge, hopefully. It is a very big and heavy pot. And to store it, I have to put the lid upside down, and it always ends up flat on the lid. That's okay. I'm going to get a bowl so I can skim. Take this handy dandy thing and try to get all the fat off the top. There's not that thick a layer, that's good. Looking pretty jelly-licious under there. Let me show you. That's what I think I'm looking for. And I did skim the actual vegetables that were boiled along with it out of it, but I wasn't very particular in using the cheesecloth, so it's gonna have some tiny bits floating in it. But I'm not all that bothered about it. We'll see how we like it or hate it, and then I'll make adjustments from there. Alright, I'm going to just get to work now. Thanks.
Hey there, Jamie here, and I want to thank y'all for joining me on this video. It is going to be out of order from my other videos because there's extra editing that I had to learn how to do before I could get this video out like this, voiceover. Y'all, this is a great thing so we can tell y'all extra things that we didn't remember to during our video. So I hope you can forgive me as all this is a learning curve for me. And as you see here, I'm just skimming the fat off the top of the bone broth. If you make your bone broth a day or two in advance and then let it sit in the fridge, then it will gather at the top, and it's super easy just to use your slotted spoon or anything like that to get that extra layer of fat that you don't want in your bone broth just right out of there. And this is my first time canning bone broth. And so I mess up here in a second, but that's life. And so I highly suggest that you get a recipe or your instructions and have it close to you when you're in the kitchen, and don't can like me, where you are recording on your phone so you cannot see your instructions and you have to do it all by memory. These jars were washed and rinsed before we started. I do not sanitize, as that's not recommended anymore. As you see, this one has a sticky label on it still. It is a reclaimed jar. Somebody had potpourri in it, and it was a pain to get the sticky off. And I'm smelling it to make sure I don't smell potpourri anymore. Last thing I want is some chicken bone broth potpourri scented food getting stored in here, and it smells of nothing. That's the great thing about glass. And I do think I get a little frustrated with this sticky thing. If you have tips for how to get that stuff off of glass, please let me know in the comments, as I reuse lots of things and would love easier ways to get the sticky part of labels off of glass jars. As you see, I've grabbed my quote-unquote multi-tool, aka a butter knife, out of the drawer, and I'm going to town on it. Y'all, I swear, my husband has had to just deal with me and my multi-tool, because if I need to get it done, that butter knife is what I reach for 90% of the time. Even if I know I have the right tool, that butter knife is always usually really close, and I know it'll work. So I'm just checking the tops of my jars to make sure there's no splits or cracks or anything along those lines that would prevent a good seal. And I am just finishing up a couple of things so I can get into this project, not even realizing the mistakes I'm going to make. Which, like I've said, this is the first time I've canned this, so I will make mistakes. And I'm completely okay with that, as that's part of a learning process for anyone. And right about here is when I'm like, I don't think it's supposed to be that thick going into the jar. Am I just thinking it's wrong? Am I remembering it's wrong? You know that thought when you just know it ain't right and you're questioning things. So let's see what it's like. And right about here, I'm realizing I don't like it. So as I'm ladling, I do realize my error, and I do go and check out my instructions.
Okay. So I went and read the instructions, and I need to reheat the broth before I can that. So let me do that.
So now I've had to readjust and make changes to my plans, which is okay, and dump everything back in and take a little extra time to reheat this chicken bone broth.
Yeah, you wrap off your hair like this, and then you do that, and then look. That's so cool. Yeah. So cool. Okay, so I got this to a rolling boil, which I heard will make it taste bitter. I did taste it. It doesn't taste bitter, but it will definitely need salt because I did not add any salt. And I'm gonna put some hot water in here. I'm gonna get my jars rinsed with some hot water. They're just room temperature now. There's nothing really, it's not really cold in here. So I'm not too worried about shattering the glasses. Yeah, they're not really cold.
So since the adjustments had to be made for the liquid to be warmed up, you also need to have warm water in your canner, and you'll see I'm adding that warm water here. I'm not going to try to have it boiling. I'm just going to try to balance out the temperature of the water with the temperature of the broth, and I will also be warming my jars with hot water. Just hot tap water is all I'm adding in here, and I'm checking the temperature with my finger and also the level of my water as well. So that's the part that cracks your jars. If you have cold jars going into a hot water in your canner, that will crack it. And if you have hot liquid going into your jars, that's where you go wrong. So I'm just adding hot water to my room temperature jars as it's not cold in my house today. And this will warm them up enough so they won't get thermal shock when I add the hot broth to the jar.
And I'm gonna get the feeling. I might put some salt in each one because when we get sickies, I want them to be able to get this themselves if they need to drink it. You don't have to worry about adding anything to it. And we'll add salt if we use it to cook anyway. So I'm just going to eyeball about a teaspoon, maybe a little less. Probably a half a teaspoon to each one. And then we're going to get this rolling again.
So another tip is I'm holding the jar and I'm about to splash a little on my hand, and y'all, this stuff is hot, so try not to splash as much as possible, but also you'll see I'll hold the jars closer sometimes to ladle in the first few bits, but then I set it down. Once that liquid gets up about halfway, it's too hot to hold, and you don't want to try to hold a jar while you're putting the hot liquid in, as that glass heats up quick and it will burn you. And I am filling this to about 1-inch headspace. And if you put too much, just use a spoon to get it back out. And always follow the instructions per your recipe, as headspace is important so things don't bubble over and affect your seals. And some things need to have a lower head space in general. There's so many different scientific reasons. Too much to get into right now, but maybe on another video.
Way overfilled that one. Oh, watch out, I'll get it on me. This is hot. Okay, so I'm gonna wipe my jars. My canner holds 7 quarts, so I'm gonna wipe the rims, get the lids on them, and get them loaded. I'm gonna swap these 2 out too, because this is my big burner. What? Hold on. I'm gonna get this water heating up while I go get some vinegar for that.
Now I'm going to go ahead and wipe each rim with a vinegar soaked paper towel. Things like chicken bone broth have a lot of fat content, and that oily top can stop your seals from securing. And that's the last thing you want to do, going through all this effort for your seals to fail. So make sure you get all the greasy stuff off the top bits. And I am getting some new lids to can these with, and I haven't quite got a preference on lids yet. These are some well-known lids, and I have had good success with them so far, but I don't say I have a preference just yet on any particular brand. And I will update you if that changes. You do want to go through and tighten your lids down just fingertip. See how I've got 3 or 4 fingers on it? I'm not wrenching it down with my wrist. If you over tighten, that can also cause your seals to fail. And if you under tighten, that can cause your lids to fail. So you just used your thumb and 2 or 3 fingers to tighten it as much as you can without putting your wrist into it. And you'll see me touch a couple of the jars and try to bear down on it. That's because my jars are covered in that hot greasy liquid. Now I've decided I need a rag because they're slippery. So I am not tightening them down hard. I'm just using that rag to stop my hands from slipping, so I can do what I said, the fingertip tighten down. Y'all, the struggle is real. Even though I know which way this lid goes on and I line things up the way you're supposed to line them up, it is backwards to me, so I can never get this pot lid on unless the pot is facing me a certain way. Do you have that problem? The struggle is real.
I don't know about you, but I can only get the lid on one way. Alright, this is cranked up. We're going to let that come to temp and steam. And then we'll put our little doohickey on, and it says quarts are 25 minutes. And we have that much left. Don't mind my really old pot. It's lots of stains, but it's a lovely pot. I cook a lot of gumbo. And we'll have to see how much of this. I don't know that we'll have a whole canner load left, so I might just jar it up, put it in the fridge, and use it this week. Or I might try freezing too. I don't think I've ever done that. Does that work well? Have you tried? Let me know. Well, I've got the canner loaded and it's just about to come up to a full steam. So while that is working away, I think I'm going to see what I can do with the remainder of this stuff, because it's not going to be a full canner load and I don't want to find something else to can. Okay, our 25 minutes have elapsed, so I'm going to go ahead and turn this off and let it just naturally cool down there until this little dew has dropped all the way down. And then I'll probably let it sit a little longer before I open it, and I'll show you what they look like coming out. Okay, so I have decided to put some in freezer quart bags, and this measuring cup literally has no measurements left on it. So I use it for things like this or scooping. So let's get some of that backed up. And I have this top bit folded over because it keeps all the gooey stuff from touching the outside. Just gonna get all the air out, make sure I do my seal good, because I do not want this going everywhere. There we go. About a quart. And I'm gonna just lay it flat to cool off. And then I'll go stick it in the freezer to freeze flat. That's basically like... Alright, I'm gonna put one jar in the fridge to cook with this week. I'm just using a used lid because this is just to store in my fridge. Alright, so this does look like it's done, and it is. Ooh, I hear popping. That's good. The lids are sealing. Wow. Look at that. Oh, oh, you hear it? Set them over here, and they can cool until tomorrow. Oh, there's another. Best sound ever when you're a canner. And they're just so you know, there is some sediment looking stuff at the top. How I said I didn't filter with like a cheesecloth or anything, but I'm not worried about that. I know what it is. But if you're going for aesthetics, definitely use a cheesecloth. But I'm not. This back a little. Alright, let's take a little bit better of a closer look. Looks good to me. What you think? That was easy. They only took 25 minutes. So, nice easy afternoon project while I could do other things. There are 2 quarts that are going in the freezer, 1 in the fridge, and then 7 that are canned and sealing already. Not bad for an afternoon of work. Just a small project to get some things taken care of. So I encourage you to get up and get moving and do something that's been on your to-do list and driving you nuts. And as you see, life is nuts.
Stupid.
Do it again.
What?
Do it again. Show me your hair. Show me your hair. Look at my hair, Mom. Look at my hair. Look at my hair. Until next time. Bye.